It now gives me great pleasure to introduce Mayor Reed to join me at the podium to present a proclamation from the city. And after that, you will be hearing closing remarks from Dr. Robert Little, who you also saw in the first video as our first family physician and now vice chairman of our board of directors.
Thank you, Janine. I learned a few minutes ago when I got here from 2 other engagements making me late for your proceedings here at the Radisson outside of the city of Harrisburg. Was informed that I would be making some remarks up here. That I didn't think I had to do, but you know how Janine is. And so here I am. It was just as well because it will allow for more merciful treatment of the audience. I will have less to say, having had almost no time to think about what I should say. But something that strikes me, almost had applause over here, is probably from Joe Capita. United Way better be contributing to this, Joe. You think? Right? To the Capitol campaign? Laugh it up, because you're going to pay for it before you leave tonight, with pledges, Janine, that they will have to give to me. And in return, your next 2 parking tickets will be dismissed. I'll need the first 2. It occurred to me tonight, as I was listening to most of the panel discussion that Valerie was leading and so forth, that right now we are consumed in Washington, D.C., finally, in an urgent and I hope successful debate and discussion about the cost of health care in this country, which, unaddressed, will eventually bankrupt the United States government. We're finally having an urgent and I hope successful discussion about the number of our fellow citizens in America who have no access to health care, who have no health insurance, who, when they get sick, have no place to go until they are so sick that somebody hauls them to the ER at a local hospital. We now have a country that is caught up in a rapidly proliferating pandemic involving what is incorrectly called swine flu, H1N1. I can tell you the local numbers here from last week to this are sharply rising, and not just amongst school-age children, but amongst adult and other populations as well. We've had 2,800 deaths in America so far, 30,000 plus hospitalized, many of them on ventilators because they're unable to breathe on their own, and invites the whole question about the capacity of the American healthcare system to deal with a pandemic of this proportion. In all these debates, all these discussions, which are really, while they're discussed in different forms and venues with more narrowly focused topics, they're really all interconnected into one large question about how we deliver health care in the United States of America, the wealthiest nation in the world, that has the most expensive but the most ineffective and inefficient health care delivery system of any of the first world countries in the world. A curious dichotomy. Folks, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with an all-new plan for health care delivery in this America. You can come to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. You can take a look at the Hamilton Health Center, and you're going to find the basic answers to these great questions facing the Congress and facing the nation, where for 40 years, I know it's convenient and easy to sometimes oversimplify complicated issues, and maybe to some extent I'm doing that, but it strikes me that here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for 40 years, we have had a successful operation in place, today growing by leaps and bounds, that delivers low-cost, quality health care, does it in a community-based health center format, reaches the uninsured and the underinsured, prevents the inundation of far more expensive emergency department visits at local healthcare institutions, and it's been working here for all this time. You want to find a way to gain control of costs and assure high quality at the same time. That model's been at work here for 40 years in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Duh, Washington, wake up. It's here. Hamilton Health Center does the job. It's accountable, very task and very goal-oriented, and has a high performance level. Now, you've heard it tonight, but I think this audience is sympathetic and predisposed to being sympathetic to answering the question that there is a compelling need for the Hamilton Health Center. There always has been. And just as compelling is the case they have laid out tonight for the first time in public about why additional new centralized space is absolutely necessary. And the plan for this space to be based on South 17th Street has been described. It's a well-developed plan. It will actually cut unit costs. It'll create far greater efficiencies at this new medical mall. I love the term. And it deserves our support. As I look around this audience, I see a whole lot of people over here, over there, I'm including you in this capita, and all around here, of people who get inundated, as does my office, inundated with requests for support for, God, it's a long list. It's hundreds upon hundreds of nonprofits and charities, and all of them worthy in some respects, in every respect perhaps, and so forth. But there's just such this constant demand for the donations and do this and do that, that you just can't answer them all. Nobody can. And even in this recession, that question becomes more difficult to answer. What do I support and to what extent? In a recession or not a recession, there's always a limited number of dollars out there that people can and will contribute. Folks, any of you who make funding decisions, let me say this. If you're looking for something that's not just tax deductible, of course that's a consideration, not just tax deductible, but something that makes a real difference, a real measurable difference in the lives of thousands of people who otherwise would have no access to health care whatsoever. If you're looking for a place to put your dollars, this capital campaign for this Hamilton Health Center Central Mall, medical mall, has to be at the top of your list amongst all the other worthy things that we're called upon to support. And it's not like they do a building campaign in Hamilton every 2 or 3 years. They don't. This isn't something that's going to come back on your desk every 2 or 3 years. It's a one-time shot. The facility there, probably, I don't know, about 30 years, certainly should be adequate for the next 15 to 20, unless the whole healthcare system in America totally collapses, and that's another story that we'll be having a lot more than fundraising meetings about. And that's no joke. Hamilton Health Center has earned our support, and I hope you give it to them. To all of you here who have contributed to and supported Hamilton Health Center for these 40 years, I want you to know that you have our public salute and our public thanks. Hamilton Health Center, yes. Let me cough again, swine flu. Be sure to come over and shake my hand then. Janine's already got my Santa wipes already set up for me over here. Got the mayor's table, do his face, isn't it? Hamilton Health Center, over these years, has literally saved lives. Hamilton Health Center, over these years, has literally helped people who would become bedridden and disabled with chronic diseases to allow them instead to live a relatively normal and far healthier and far happier life. And in a practical sense, removed the potential of those persons becoming so dependent upon the public welfare system that otherwise would have to support them. Your dollars in the Hamilton Health Center have reaped benefits 100-fold for every penny, every dollar you ever invested with Hamilton Health Center. And that's exactly what this building's going to do on South 17th Street. Congratulations, Hamilton Health Center, for 40 years of historic, extraordinary performance. And for our part, I'm doing correspondence this week to earmark $250,000 of community development block grant money for your capital campaign. And here's the check. No, actually, that'd be a pretty big check. It's my pleasure and my privilege to present this proclamation that declares Wednesday, October the 28th, as Hamilton Health Center 40th Anniversary Celebration Day in Pennsylvania's capital city. And aren't you glad you didn't tell me in advance I was going to be speaking? You wouldn't be out of here before the end of the 9th inning of you-know-what game that's going on in New York. Go Phillies! You're welcome. I'll get you the correspondence out this week yet, so I'll probably have it beginning next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you Yankee lovers.
Dr. Little?
Huh? Over here. Beside me here is Jane Kirker Conroy. She's a family doctor in town, and her father, Dr. Walter Kirker, was the founding medical director, and he and I were the ones that were working in each end of that trailer. Jane, do you want to say a word about your dad?
Yeah, I remember one evening at dinner at our dining room table, my mom and my dad sat down and said Dad was going to give up his practice of OBGYN, obstetrics, gynecology, and come work at this new center that was going to be set up in town. It was a time in which trying to get health services to the everyday person, make it accessible, quality specialty service, and it was a radical change for their life, but it was one of the most proud things my parents did in their entire life. Up until the time my dad died, he was always very proud to say that he was a part of this. And to see this room full of dining room tables is just says a whole lot about this. So 40 years, that's phenomenal. Thank you very much.
And these two gentlemen here with me, I think you all know them. Dr. Donald Spagner was the second medical director. And Dr. Herman Lawson was our partner, and along with Dr. Beck and Dr. Clayton and Dr. Wheeler, we sort of ran the place for about 16 years, from 1972 to 88. Do you want to say a word?
I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to see Rowan Bailey here. Yeah.
You want to say a word?
I just want to say that that trailer that you saw in that picture, I was a medical student at Penn State Medical Center, and I was one of the first students that was experienced that trailer.
And over the years, we had a number of medical students go through there. For many years, the Penn State Family Medicine residents came through. Each one came through there. So that was important too. Well, thank you for all coming tonight. Thank you, guys. Thank you. We're so appreciative of your support. And you know, a place like Hamilton would not be successful without not just the financial support, which Mayor Reed said plenty about that, and he's absolutely right, but with the moral support that you all give. It gives us permission, us, the board now, and the staff, permission to keep doing what they're doing. And every good work needs moral support. And I'm reminded, I can't help but remind of my favorite Bible verse, which is Romans 8:28. All things work together for good with those who love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose. And isn't it amazing how you've heard how the staff feels like it's a calling, and I think we felt that in the old days too, and you can see that. And it's also amazing how the coincidences of people meeting, chance meetings, bring people together, and so you almost think it's not really by chance, don't you? Yeah. So thanks again for coming. Don't forget to fill out your cards if you want a copy of the video. And I wonder if Mayor Reed, he's so enthusiastic, maybe he should be the chairman of our capital campaign. What do you all think? The Lord bless you and keep you. Bye. Bye.